So, sorry, let me just deal with this. You know, like I say, if there's any questions, guys, just fire away. Turn your mics on or send it in the message box. Like I say, if there's anything specific anyone wants me to cover, I will do. But until then, I'll cover uh some. I'll cut Luke posted about he was trying to sell this last Friday, I think it was. Yeah, Friday. Obviously, he posted his ideas in the S&D chat today, but obviously posted about it on Friday. So I opened the chat up when he posted about it that he was trying to sell it, and straight away I thought the opposite. For now at least, anyway. So I think Luke's assumed that obviously there is a structure breakdown here. So let me just draw some structures. A bit later on, I'm going to cover a bit more structure as well, because I think there's a couple of guys that have come on maybe from Tom's to maybe try and learn some structure. So obviously you can see there's a 15-minute structure going on here. Obviously I've not updated it since here other than looking the other day for Luke. And so I'll get into the rules for the couple of new lads that are on at the minute, but this is just a continuation of this orange structure. I'll turn this color orange when I next get to it. So, and the rules as to why I'm drawing it like this. So, Luke's cell setup looks about valid. Is just I think is a bit early. So, what Luke's expecting is this. Yeah. So, turn that orange. Turn it bolder so you can see. Right, so that's a structure. So, like I say, I'll get into the rules of it properly in a bit later on, but just assume that this is right for now. What we get when we with this push down here is obviously this is higher highs, higher lows. So we're trending upwards here. Yeah, and we get a break to the underside here. So from that point there, obviously it puts in a low. And the idea is that it's going to come somewhere up in this sort of area and then maybe sell off and make a new 15-minute lower low. Very reasonable to do. What my issue was with Luke's setup. So what what he's basically anticipating is that price is gonna inside this whole leg here, we can see a slightly smaller time frame structure, which I'll draw so you can understand as well. So you get the obviously the overall low, you get a high. Just bear with me a sec while I check this out. Now this might be a nothing. Right, this one's lower, so check the times on them both. So one of the rules that we will get into for structure are that well, two of them basically will apply to this. So we clearly make a low there. We pull back. Normally, how I would draw this is obviously this would be the high, this would be the low, this would be the high. But then this one here, just I'm just going to turn that a different color as well. Do that green. This wick here just takes out this one, and then it continues to take this high here. And this is important because it continues there. So one of the rules is what it does next confirms the previous. So if you was watching this live and it was just going to change the chat and everything. Bollocks. Sorry, bear with me a sec, guys. There we go. Cancel that. that what I wanted? Yep. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so one of the rules is what it does next is what confirms a previous. So if you was, sorry, I'm just going to reverse it a little bit further. So if you was looking at the chat roughly around here, oh, yes, you would be correct in thinking that this is the correct structure and you maybe get a 1 minute break just down here. So from here, obviously, because this low here just takes this one, you would maybe be thinking it's done what it's wanted up here, it's tapped into something, and it's going to continue to the downside. But obviously, as we see, it doesn't come and take this low. It continues to take the previous live high. So, and what I mean by live high is this is the from here to here is the live structure, obviously until this gets taken. Soon as this takes that low, this becomes the live structure. So, and then what it does next confirms a previous. So, would we would anticipate that maybe price is going to do that, come mitigate something up in here, or in all of this. Obviously, it would have been so you'd be right into thinking that that's the next swing point. And if you get like a lower time frame break to the downside in here, that would confirm that you would maybe start to sell off. Obviously, we don't do that. We just continue to the upside. So what we do from there, because it then retakes the high and the rule of what it does next, this is the next, confirms a previous. So because it's taken the high, this changes, right? So we put in a low, put in a high. Now this will confuse, obviously this is a bit of a confusing rule, but it's just one of the rules that stick on the thing. Yeah. Yeah, and then we've continued to the high. That's the wrong because that's the highest point there. So because that retakes that high, we then alter the structure to suit that one. And then obviously we would anticipate, obviously it's going to make a high, it's going to pull back, take the high again, pull back, sort of thing. So we're from obviously this point, we are 1 minute, at least 1 minute bullish from there. Right. So I'm going to come off that. Yeah. So as you see, we start getting some decent-ish swing. So we pull back, retake the high, pull back, retake the high. So obviously, what I'll do is I'll mark the tops and bottoms of these highs for you, so you're not getting too confused. Let's do it from here. So that would be one. Yeah. So as this pulls back, that's until that's taken. Obviously, the lowest point it pulls back. And then as soon as this takes the high, that becomes the new, pardon me, the new low, obviously in a bullish structure. And then obviously the lowest point, again, it just wakes its way up. So it makes a high, stick on the high. Yeah. So price retakes this high at this point. So we know that from there, the lowest point, the price actually pulls back before it retakes it the high. Obviously, so that pulls back to here. That means that that's the 1 minute structure. So from that high, the lowest point it pulls back, that becomes the confirmed low once it retakes it here. I'm just going to go all the way up here because obviously there's some sort of, I mean, call it consolidation, call it whatever you want. It pulls back clearly, takes all these out. So this is why I've gone from here to here, and then obviously I'm going to go from here because that's the lowest point until then it retakes this high, and then I think that's up to current price where it is now. So now, obviously, this structure is all marked in hindsight. So, what can we do? What we can do to try and use this in our favor to catch live trades is obviously this is retaking the high here. Now, obviously, so we get to the high get taken there, this high gets taken there, this high gets taken there. Obviously, after it's taken on all of them, we get a bit of a pullback that occurs. Yeah. So it's another 1 minute break there to the upside. I'll zoom in so you can sort of see them all. They're all there. But pretty much after everyone's taken, we go a bit more and then we start to pull back. So if we put high in, we pull back. Put the high in, we pull back. We put the high in, we pull back. Yeah. So we can sort of think that we're going to at least pull back into something after this high has been taken, which obviously we might see this week. So that's just a couple of the rules for structure. Obviously, I'll get into the others in a minute. But what I was thinking is, right, so what I would just get here. I'm just going to delete some of these so you can see what I was actually thinking about Luke's trade. So a 15-minute structure bullish, the 1 minute's bullish. Obviously, this green structure, it's obviously we just drawn out, just deleted it. So what we have done inside of this, at the bottom of this, possibly the bottom of this 15-minute leg. So, oh, sorry, the 15-minute leg's bearish, just 10 bearish, possibly. So, where I think Luke went wrong is he was trying to, it would be right in thinking that a break below one of these two is a good place for a breaker structure to the downside for his 1 minute. But when it's come back up in here, if you see all these like yellow, I mean, that one should be well over here. These are all like the lower time frame imbalances that I would want to see filled before we see a break to the downside. Now, obviously, this one was just a touch shy of um, being filled. So, with imbalance, obviously, ideally, like I mean, there's 4 or 5 in this. I don't know which one it will go for. Ideally, it'd be this highest one here because then everything in this whole leg, imbalance wise, is filled. So, obviously, I'd want the last one to be filled ideally because then we know. Sorry, just get comfy. Cannot stretch my legs. Ideally, we'd get the highest one filled because then we know that there's nothing left for price to come back to. So if we're trying to sell, draw a sell order. Ideally, a price would come in, fill this. We might get something like this. Yeah. And then I want to see a break to downside and turn that green because it would be a 1 minute I want to see. So at that point, if it filled that highest imbalance, broke to the downside. So once it does there, it'd be down to the downside. That would be telling me now that the 15 minutes bearish, because over here we get a break to the downside. So 15 minutes is technically bearish. And we're basically waiting for the 1 minute to tell us it wants to turn bearish as well. Now it's sort of done it here, but it's just in the wrong place because it's not filled in imbalance. It's just shy of. So I think Luke was sort of right in his setup. He was just a bit early because I looked at these and go, well, there's these imbalances here. It's high risk to sell before imbalance has been filled, basically, because we believe price is going to want to fill imbalance. Market just doesn't like imbalance being left. It generally, there's no time limit on when it's going to be filled, but it just doesn't want to leave it. So that's what it's generally coming for. So the highest one on this occasion, like I say, would be the most ideal. It might not be. It might not be the one that he wants to come for, but obviously in an ideal world, it would be perfect if it did the very last one, gave a signal to the downside, and then after that, if it did that, we would just then start our sell from here. So once it breaks the 1 minute low, as long as it does it from where we want to, there would then be like an imbalance somewhere in this leg here. So yellow's my imbalance. I'd want the imbalance on there, fill in, and just above the imbalance would be an order block, which would become my entry zone. and then from there we would obviously we'd possibly get a new 15-minute low put in. Obviously a 15-minute low would be down here. So this is the high, this is the low. So we have the potential to come and catch a sell to take this low out, assuming it does stay 15-minute bearish. So obviously if you was to catch something like that, you would the safer option would be to take it to there'll be something in like this bottom 25% of all this leg, this whole leg here. Something in the bottom 25 is where it might mitigate and then make a new high. Obviously, if it's going to stay bearish, it will take this low. So, I mean, if you can catch something like that, that's a safer option there. That's the anticipated. It might come and fill one of these previous zones I've got marked. I marked that up over the weekend. This might have played out. I don't know. I don't know. It didn't quite tag the entry zone I had marked, but so it might be live. It might not be. I don't know. So I was looking at buys when Luke was looking at selling anyway, like I say, because we hadn't done, I don't believe the market had done its job up here. I thought it wanted to come higher. So I've got a orange zone marked here, a point of interest. So I'm basically, what I come up with from that as soon as I looked at it, I see this liquidity here. So we've got a touch, touch, touch. I believe they're very clean touches. I believe it's three perfect touches. Let's delete some of this shite. Yeah, so perfect. I know that's magneted on, so I know that's a good touch. And it's just a smidge past, but I think I measured that. I don't think it even registers as a pipette, so I'm okay with that one. And then obviously this one's magneted onto that high there. So we've got three real nice touches of trend line. So what what I've done from this is obviously I've spotted the trend line, and I know that something in obviously I've extended the line here, so something below all of this, where this line crosses that blue line, where price crosses the blue line, sorry, something below it basically caused this liquidity to be taken, because obviously it's taken here. Like when I say taken, I mean it just prices passed beyond it. That's liquidity taken at that point for me. So from there, basically, you just come down somewhere below and try and find like a decent looking imbalance, like basically an order block with a bit of imbalance above it. So we can sort of see here there's some imbalance there. I say yellow's imbalance on my charts, and orange is 15-minute time frame order blocks. I must have marked it on the 5 though. Same thing. Yeah, order block there. Now, this is just short of touching the order block, but if we come on the lower time frame, we might see, say on the 10-second, the imbalance might be just a touch higher or not. Something that, whatever that is. See, there's price missing here, so we might actually have come for this imbalance here. So some missing price action there. So it might have come to tag into this here. Yeah. Yeah, see, it fills that price action that I just spoke about, fills that, taps into the order block, obviously the zone basically that we believe caused this price action to be taken, the liquidity to be taken. It's tapped into it. From there, if we look at the minute structure from the high is so basically we put a high in there. We start getting some bearish price action down here. I'll turn this darker so you can see it again in a minute. And then you see yeah, so we get some form of bearish structure forming in here. Yeah, and obviously this is the high that puts in the low, taps into the order block that we were just mentioning about, and then we're waiting for this high to be taken again as our final confirmation that we want to see buys of. And obviously we're still looking for buys because it not done what we wanted to here, and it's still possibly going up higher as well. Now this will possibly become very risky if, like I say, it comes and fills, let's say that imbalance or that imbalance because that filling these two might indicate that we are reversing. So if it just pops shy of this imbalance and comes and taps something in this, or it completely goes through, then that would still be a valid trade for me. So uh, basically, what we have seen is from that, I'm just going to have a quick review of it, is that basically we have built up liquidity. We have taken it, and what took it became our point of interest. So our points of interest should have always done something. They should always generally take liquidity. So causes that. Now this zone could be loads bigger, but obviously see on the seconds chart we narrowed it to there roughly. It could still come lower, obviously, but that will depend on what happens up here. So we might catch the sell, like I say. Um, I'm hoping it plays out. We don't know until we get obviously the confirmations, and obviously we get lower time frame structures like I drew earlier. So if this was to pull back from here and then do this, obviously we would get the buy up to the potential sell zones. And it would still continue with the lower time frame 1 minute structure. Obviously, I've deleted them now, but it was obviously from the low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Obviously, it's going to put a high in at some point soon. Then I'm hoping the pullback will tag in an entry zone. Then we'll get another 1 minute push up to the upside. Um, that was my thinking Friday. So I was actually trying to buy it once Luke had said he was trying to sell it, not because he said he was selling it, but yeah, I just feel that this wasn't the area that was going to trigger the overall sell with the being imbalances above. So what I'll do is I'll show you these imbalances to try and make you understand that. I'll just see who we've got on. Steve, Josh, and Dan. Um, I'm not sure if you boys are actually using the seconds charts or whatever, but I I don't really believe that there's such a thing as like say a 15-minute imbalance or anything like that. Now, obviously, I often use say like the 15 and 5 minutes as indications where real imbalance might be, but yeah, like I said, I don't really believe in 15-minute imbalance. So if it's visible on like let's say the 10 second, if it's there on the 10 second, or the 5 or the 1, then it's there, but it might not be on the 15. So, but I'm pretty sure it is on these. Can you boys still hear me? I've just had a dodgy notification of signal. Someone write something in the chat for me if you can still hear me. Still recording. Everyone gone to sleep. I'll carry on until someone says they can't hear me then. So yeah, I'll show you the imbalances in here that made me think it was still going higher, obviously when Luke was looking. Right, so Should may have moved that clearly by accident at some point. So we get a huge push down from here. We maybe get a little couple of little imbalance just in there actually as well. Imbalance. Yeah. So we're on the 10-second at the minute. So we get a huge push from here. That might have been news or something went on here because that is a huge push. I'm going to measure that. So in 10 seconds, that that this one candle here alone moves 10.5 pips in 10 seconds. Now, like I say, I'm assuming that's news or something or some world event. I don't know what. Um, Huge. That's always going to be filled. As you see here, we get some more up here. They don't all look like this. This is quite low down in this whole leg as well. So obviously there's all this price action from the high up to here. Obviously that looks like news again. Don't know what that was either. Similar time. Yeah. But anyway, to the imbalances. So lovely little bit of imbalance in there. This push down here. Another piece here. This decent candle. Bearing in mind this is all on the 10 seconds. So when you see these candles on the lower time frame, this. So basically, I mean, I don't know what stage you boys are all at. I'm assuming you all maybe know, but if we, so that's the imbalance there. I'll just measure it again. So that candle there is nearly pretty much 4 pips in 10 seconds. So basically, basically what imbalance indicates is a huge sell amount of sell orders. Obviously, this is all sell imbalances that we're looking at the minute. So to be able to move the market 4 pips in 10 seconds is, I mean, I don't even know what it would cost to do that, but I'm assuming it's tens or hundreds of millions. And if let's say if it's HSBC that are putting these orders in, like if they're selling, then chances are that the market's going that way. And they're just obviously that at some point they're just going to come back to mitigate and fill this imbalance. But if the sentiment for the whole market is bearish, like say these are the signals, yeah. So obviously we come a bit higher. We'll look at the imbalances above as well. Like I say, I believe this is news. I mean, this is mega size, somewhat catastrophic for the Japanese yen there. But obviously up here is the point in which the imbalance is filled, which is why I've what my yellow lines are on my charts there, the point in which price is filled. So if price come up and turn from there, gave me a 1 minute break to the downside or whatever, I'd be very reluctant because there'd still be all this imbalance here that I would think it would want to fill. So anything before these yellow lines, if price comes obviously that high, is possibly a trap. So, like I say, I would normally just be waiting for a 1 minute break to the downside. If it doesn't do it by fill it where it fills one of these important imbalances, I consider it a trap. I'd rather leave the trade. So we're obviously not in the business of making silly losses. So waiting for everything to be played out and correct is what we should be doing. Now, we will sometimes obviously fall for these traps. It might fill a lower imbalance, do it, and then decide it wants to come for a higher one, which is why I said earlier that the highest one is ideal, but it's often not the case. So they're the imbalances. Um, yeah, so you see this one here. This was where we got Luke's 1 minute break under here. So the low, high, get a 1 minute break below here, but it's quite a bit above the imbalance and well below one of the other ones. So obviously where current price is, it's between two. So I wouldn't even consider selling before this one's filled now. Um, yeah, so that's Euro JPY, my thoughts on it. Is there any questions on that, guys? We're very quiet tonight. I'll assume you're all okay and you understand. If not, like I say, just chuck a comment in, lads, and ask any questions. Um, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get up my rules for structure. So, because I'm just going to try and explain some of the rules visually. So, oh, piss off. Um, so just bear with me, guys. I'm just trying to copy and paste the rule. Right. So I might move charts as well. Let's go to USD. I think that was fairly nice. Back on? Yeah, back on. Right. Let me. I think that's kicked a couple of viewers as well. Am I still recording? Mm, all right. I think we're still recording, guys. Just go. Oh, piece of shit. Right. So one of the rules for structure is get on with it. Why is it being shit? Right. So toolbar. Move. Lisa, you're not like you haven't disconnected the internet, or have you? It keeps disappearing. Hmm. I don't know what's going on. Um, are we back on now? I think we're on. I think I'm still recording. Right. Yeah, I think it's all right now, dear. Thank you. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I think I'm back on, lads. So sweet, 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 sweet. I'll check OrdNZD in a minute, mate. I'm just going to fly through some of the rules for structure because it seems to be what a lot of people are interested in at the minute. So one of the rules is the previous. Yep. Previous structure is is the valid live structure until the high or the low is taken. Anything that happens in between is considered internal. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick this 4 hour structure, which is this red one here. Right. So we sort of covered on it earlier on in live. And basically what I mean by that, obviously, because I can show you while I'm on. So obviously I said that when obviously this is a bullish market, 4 hour market, when obviously we set a low, you can start at any random point, try and get a few swings in if you can. But we have a low here, we put in a high, and then obviously we pull back. So at let me draw on this one here. So this, as this is playing out, so obviously it's hindsight, so it's a bit when we put in a high, so that to that there, as in, if we was watching this, trying to watch it live, we know obviously this has played out since, so it's we can use old price to determine like going forward sort of thing. So low and a high, we pull back. So the low, this is the live structure while this is pulling back because obviously that's the high and that's the low. So the lowest point it pulls back is that becomes the new low once this is retaken. Now it's the same but in the opposite for obviously bearish structures. So once that low is confirmed, when it breaks above here, then obviously we wait for it to start pulling back again. And then once obviously it's retaken, then that becomes, once that pulls back, that would be the live line to live high until it's retaken. And again, it's the same for bearish structures. So when when I say previous structure, what I mean is basically is, for example, if this is the live structure, this price here hasn't played out, let's say, stand up nil. So let's say let's imagine that obviously that's the low and that's the high. We've got it marked up. Yeah. So the live low and the live high. Until this low is taken, this is just considered a pullback, and then we would anticipate a new long, new higher high, which obviously it does. We've got drawings for it, but we're obviously imagining we're in a live situation. So if it pulls back deep and it's not tagged into anything, like say we just anticipate it's going to tap in something in this bottom price action here, and then give us signals to continue long. So this is my 4 hour structure that I've got drawn. What will sort of confirm is we will get some. Well, first of all, we would get like a 1 minute break to the upside in lower in here. I would then want to see like a 15-minute breaker structure because the 15-minute makes up the one. No, sorry, the 15-minute makes up the 4 hour. So by that is, I would say that in this leg here, obviously it's a 4 hour leg, we get that there, that there. I'm just going to draw out what I consider the 15-minute structure to be. Yeah. So obviously we get a little 15-minute structure up here as well. I ain't drawn it in, but we start with a 4 hour pullback, which we get a couple of 15-minute swings in this. So the last one in being this orange line here. So what I if we're pulling back like we are here, what I want to see is, like I say, the 1 minute will change first, and then we should see the 15. So this would be the 15-minute high on this leg occasion. So what I would be doing is I would be waiting for this high to be taken here to confirm that we are going to continue the 4 hour, because the 15-minute makes up the 4 hour. So ideally we'll get the 15-minute. And as you can see from this sort of structure, now I've drawn it this way. I've not included this because this, from this low to this little high here, we don't take a high in the previous. So this is considered internal. and obviously this gets taken here. So that becomes the actual 15-minute high. It also takes the 4 hour high at the same time. But then obviously it pulls back. Obviously from that high there, we pull back. That's the deepest pullback before it then retakes it. Yeah, highest point, then we pull back. Highest point, lowest point, it pulls back after it takes in the pullback. So before it then retakes it, it would takes it here. Build liquidity on top of it as well. So this is these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 15-minute swings make up one 4 hour leg. Now it's the same for the pullbacks as well. So we make a high, we break the 15-minute low here. So this is why this is considered a 4 hour pullback, because we take a 15-minute low and then obviously we break to the upside again up here, pull back, and as you see, we have possibly on this occasion here this 15-minute low here. So we get a pullback, 15-minute high, pullback, doesn't take the low. There's a low under here. New 15-minute high. So this will be the 15-minute low, and then we've taken it here, which indicates the 4 hour pullback. Obviously, we wouldn't be anticipating it taking the 4 hour low, and it doesn't. It just comes back, mitigates something, and then obviously continues to the upside. So the rules, that rule is the same for every time frame. Now, obviously, I've said that the 15-minute structure makes up the 4 hour. Now, if I come down a time frame, this would indicate. So this just looked like a few candles on the 4 hour time frame, but what we can actually see is a smaller structure inside of these legs here, which I would class as the one. So the one makes up the 15 makes up the 4 hour time frame, and above the four you could say daily or weekly. It doesn't really matter. But what you can see is I'll concentrate on this pullback. Now I'll find something a bit cleaner actually. This here, so 15-minute pullback here. So this I've got it marked from previous. This is the 1 minute high that puts in a low. So if you was looking for buys out of that, you'd be waiting for that high to be taken, which it does, because that confirms obviously the 15 is going to continue bullish. So high, I'll tell you what, I'll turn that colour now. So high, low, retake the high. So we then pull back, the lowest point it pulls back. So if your entry was this order block here and you caught a buy, it's a mega move. And this just takes that previous high there, this high here. Just takes it. Favors point, it pulls back after it takes it. Yeah. And now CDC, we get stuck. That one. So that's the 1 minute on them 15-minute legs. Now, obviously, you can see we get some bearish. I'm just going to re-alter that last one. I'll show you that in a sec. So I think that's maybe a leg there. Might be hard to see. Maybe a little pullback in here, high, and then we break below here. So, and this is what I mean by the one makes the 15 and indicates. Fuck off, didn't do that one, didn't I? So if that's a 1 minute break structure there, that indicates obviously because the 1 minute will tell us the 15 minutes going to pull back, and it will tell us it's going to continue long as well, depending on obviously as long as it doesn't take the overall live high and low on the 15. So high, pull back, high, break to the downside, possible mitigation of an entry in there. That is. So something in there is possibly an entry, whatever going on in here. So break, 1 minute, draw the rest of the structure out. So from the high, we'll break to the downside, pull back to something. This might actually be an entry there instead at a later date. But you see the structure forming downwards, which forms. Is that taken? Which forms this 15-minute pullback. Yeah, so pull back, low, high, low, bearish price action. So, but the 1 minute makes up this whole 15-minute leg, and obviously this is the same for the time frame above. So the 15-minute makes up the 4 hour legs. Um, that's one of the rules for structure. So let me go and check, grab one of the others. Now, the famous point it pulls back is obviously we've covered that plenty. We covered what price does next confirms a previous, so I'm going to miss that one out. And 1 minute makes up 15. The only sort of other rule I will use is when we get to the real low, sort of small structures. I'm just going to come off that. Now there's going to be occasions where we think that maybe something like this is a structure high break. I mean, I still fall for it every now and then, but what one of the rules I have is if the structures get real small. Now we're on the 5 minute, and I'm trying to focus on a 1 minute structure, but that's just so I can fit more candles in the screen for you guys. Um, but yeah, there's going to be occasions where, like I say, something like this looks like it's a valid structure and break to the upside. So you'd be obviously it breaks it with all this. I'm assuming that's the news, but what one of the rules is I like there to be at least a run of 4 or 5 candles of the same color in this. Now there's some here, but it's a bit on the messy side. This almost looks like a continuation of that price there. I can't explain that to you. It's just something I've seen. It's just uh, so obviously prices are coming down there. Almost still, it's almost part of the channel. Yeah, and there's just like a drop in price, and it like corrects itself. So that's why I would be very cautious on that. Like I say, I like at least 4 or 5 of the same color candles, clearly in a push up to consider a structure. Now, this is actually a bad example, but I know I'll struggle to find an actual good example for you. But when, like I say, the main thing is when it gets real small, you just want a prolonged period of price action to determine whether it's a actual structure or not. If it's just like say 2 or 3 candles in the direction that you want, and you just obviously try not to force your breaker structure to fit a trade, you'd be better off waiting, being a bit patient and a bit more strict. So that's pretty much. I think we've pretty much covered everything structure wise. Obviously, if there's questions, guys, chuck them in now, because if not, I'm going to go look at Ord NZD. I've not looked at this in a while, but the last time I did, I knew it was a bit of a pain in the ass. uh, Ord NZD. Pardon me. So structure wise, so I've just look at your looking at your drawing now, Dan. Pardon me. Um, you've got a couple of swings in the middle of your structure. Now you're on the daily. Let me actually mount this up for so I think, mate, you've got. I'll mark what I've got, what I will see, mate. So currently there. Um, Siri, which could do OnlyFans, mate, if I didn't have such a small pecker. Um, so this is how I'm sort of seeing the 4 hour structure, mate. So I think you've got. Let me just check again. I'll keep coming off it. Oh no, you've got the same 4 hour. Yeah, you've done 23. I don't think I'm that far back. Let me just check the day. Three, so you've got this. That is a fucking shit chart to look at. I think, mate. So it's not easy this one, but what I'm gonna do is you've got a um, difficult chat. So I'm gonna say we're still long, mate. So I'm gonna stick with this as my 4 hour. Now we're on the daily, so obviously it looks fairly small. But you've, by the looks of your chart, I think you've got a couple of swings in here that don't work. So now this would be more than my 4 hour, but what it looks like we've actually got, mate, is we've got low just over here. So this is possibly my daily, weekly structure. Yeah, so we've got that at the minute going on with daily. So low, high, higher, low, higher, high. Now we've passed this high. Past that high by quite a decent little bit at the minute. So if this, I'm just going to come in to the chaps. Here you have me, yeah, 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 beautiful chat. But like, what we can do from there, mate, is, I mean, we can use. It might have already played out. So what we can sort of do is we can assume that now, obviously, that's a high from the daily structure, and obviously we've got this 4 hour high here as well. Like I say, I think it's played out, mate, but we can assume that something in here has played. Just going to delete that one as well. So it looks like something in this. Just going to highlight that there for now. Obviously, this we could say that there's something in all this price action up to this point here. All that price action there takes this high and the one to the left. So from here, what we would possibly do, like say I've got other four, like just a zone match, you can narrow it down 15 or 5 if you really choose to. But what you would do, mate, is and it looks shite on the 15. Let's go to 5. Basically, what you would do is looking for something substantial to make us believe why price is going to come to that area and then continue up. Now, obviously, taking the highs to the left is a great reason. So, so we've got a low here, and then we've started getting some nice imbalances in this here. So, what I'll do is I'll just highlight to that there. So we get a good imbalance, a real nice push from this here. I don't know if we'll see that properly. Huge push. I don't think it's news related. And then also to the bottom of that wick. So from there, as long as I mean, there is some imbalance below. It might have come lower still. We might have thought it would, but what we do, mate, is from there is 15. I'll get up to current price in a minute, but basically what we do, mate, is we form some sort of structures going on down to obviously the POI. So we get a high, see up there, puts in this low, we pull back there, we retake the low, pull back, we take the high. Yeah, so turn that green for you. So if we've got the point of interest marked or a late set on it, what we can do from there, mate, is obviously if your late went off, maybe at this point there it just about touches it. You would look up and go, well, that's the previous high. That's the high that puts in this low. Once it pulls back, this doesn't get broken. It retakes the low. So if you'd set a latest on the high and the low, the one at the low would have gone off where it takes it here. You would then come back and go, well, this is the highest point from this retaking. So that's the high that you'd want to be broken. That one there. So once this alert went off here on this new moved high, you would then be able to say that there, and then price is literally it's you're looking for it to come back to fill a lower time frame imbalance. I'm not actually going to find an entry because it could be ages. I think that's actually spread out. So I don't that dog shit. Um, Let me just change this, mate, because with that spread out, it changes everything. Um, like, but it's not. That's not going to do it. If that wasn't spread out, mate, I'd just be saying that price is going to come and fills an imbalance and an entry in somewhere in that sort of area there. So with that being spread hour, that I don't believe it happens. So I would still be on this high being taken and this being the actual low still because this didn't happen as far as I'm concerned. But what I'm going to wait for, I'm going to wait to see if it takes it still before it comes back and tags because it looks like it comes back and fills something in here. Yeah, that would what I'd be looking for. So because this didn't happen, this would get re-altered. So we get a high. Basically, that's how I would view it. So we get a break there, mate. Price breaks there. So from there, price would come back and tag something in all of this for an entry. Uh, so from that low there, basically, to that there, anything that would be live in that sort of thing. Like I said, I'm not going to spend ages looking for an entry. It's just going to come and tag and fill something in one of these here. Um, but the principle's the same. Like I say, the reason for the point of interest, what it's done. You want to wait for the breaker structure. Now, obviously, it's come down and tagged. Let's say whatever this is by the looks of it. Goes. Speed that up. So that's. I mean, that was. I mean, that was all last year anyway. And it's come into something this sort of area. Um, but we're possibly pulling back now. So let's text that. Yeah, that one there. That's the low. So what we've possibly had, mate, is I'm just gonna come back to the 15. So leading up to this pullback, so I always try and pick a previous valid high and low. So we have a high. This is the bullish of this 4 hour leg, obviously. So we trend upwards there. So we break this low here, and then obviously this is the significant low there. That's not right. It's not right. We get this, sorry. The same starting point. So pull back through there. Maybe this one, that one there. High. So yeah, this is the low that puts in this high. It gets broken here, but obviously it continues low there. Pulls back there. So after this break here, this would have been your entry. But bearing in mind this was, this was 2 weeks ago now that this high happened. But what we can do, mate, is we draw the previous to determine what we think is going to happen after that. So obviously that would have been an entry, whatever imbalance is in here. It then just puts in one big fuck off leg, one bearish leg. I don't consider any of this a pullback. That's just one leg. So if this is obviously the correct structure, what from there, what we are expecting, mate, is we could continue with the 4 hour pullback. So basically, this is the current live leg here. So this doesn't take the low. So all this at the minute, that there is internal because, and this is important, I'll get to it in a minute. That's the low there. That's the high. So obviously one of the rules is the high and the low. This is the live leg until the high or the low is taken. So what we can do from here is we are whatever time frame this is. I mean, I've got it marked as my one. I think it is the one. Some might consider it 15. It doesn't matter what you name it as long as you're looking at different structures for the rep. Like you can name them anything you want as long as you're looking at that's one structure. And then if you're looking for, if we're thinking cells from the top quarter from up here, turn that orange just so it don't confuse everybody actually watches it back. Um, So if we're going to stay bearish, yeah, on this orange structure, we're in the top, very top sort of portions of that live leg. Now we would want to see a lower time frame break to the downside. I don't think we've had it yet. So what we've got leading up to the point of interest is we pretty much get a high there, low, high. So this is the current smaller time frame leg, live leg. So at the minute, we would be, this is the live high on the lower time frame, and that's the live low. So before I consider selling from this point of interest here to maybe make a new 15-minute low, and this is what protects me a lot. So, and we would anticipate something like this maybe as a 15-minute swing. Like, obviously we don't know. Like, but what protects us is we're going to wait for this 1 minute break to the downside below here because, like I said previously, the 1 minute will start the 15-minute leg. So we would obviously we're bullish, sorry, up to, that's what this green one is here. We're bullish up to the point of interest. Now, what we might do is, and this is why it's, I mean, I think structures like pretty much a safety net for 90% of my trades. So what we might do is we might just pull back somewhere into this low here and then make a new high. So if you sell before the break, like I say, you might get a couple of pips in it or whatever. It might give you a little reaction, but it might take you out. If it takes the low, it takes that low, price should come back, mitigate something up in this top quarter of this leg. Like I said, it's the live one. Obviously, it takes the low. The structure changes at that point for the live structure, but it would become from that to whatever price comes down to. So if the 1 minute does give you that break, like I say, we will come up there and mitigate an entry, and then we will possibly just start making some more 1 minute bearish structures that would make up this anticipated 15-minute structure. Like I say, the 1 minute makes the 15, and we are technically bearish on it because, well, that's one swing down, two swings down, we might get a third, but we need this 1 minute to tell us first, because otherwise, like I say, it could just do that. So, might be worth keeping an eye on tomorrow. Obviously, this is a structure, obviously, an anticipated. If it doesn't take the if it starts to pull back and it doesn't take this on market open, what we would look to see in there, because there's possibilities for buys as well in this from this area here. So I'll just mark that. Obviously, I'll keep it orange for the sake of it. What I would want to, if we're going to continue buying, now this might already be the new low. If we just don't market open and we take the high, this is the new low. If we don't take the high on market open, price might actually, because it's still internal, all this here, but if we anticipate it's just going to come drop from there, taps into this point of interest, I'd want to see an even smaller structures going on to confirm us. So we've got something like, if that's the mitigation of the high on a smaller time frame, we maybe want to see something like that go on. And then again, we would wait for this high to be taken if we're going to consider buys. Because again, the lower, like this green, this one here is what I consider my 1 minute. I've left it on green, but there'll be a sub 1 minute structure time frame to maybe go on. I'll turn it to boys. So yeah, we might get a smaller time frame structure that indicates that we're going to continue and take this point of interest out. So at the minute, I would say we're 15-minute bearish, but 1 minute bullish. When we want to see a break below this one at the minute, if we're going to continue sells, if we're going to get buys, we're going to get a smaller structure than the green, somewhere in maybe in here to then tell us it's going to go long, which is obviously if we do that, we will then do from there, would break that high, pull back, mitigate something, and then it would just continue to its next. Obviously, this is a 4 hour high I've got marked up, so we're 4 hour pulling back but bullish, 15-minute bearish, currently 1 minute bullish. We want all these time frames to align. So yeah, there's a lot from that, I guess, and a lot of mind gymnastics to that, but it's just what it is, and but we're just waiting for the signals to tell us what we want to do, mate. I'll if there's any questions on that, mate. If not, I'll call it there. Run over a bit. Cheers, mate. Thank you. I'll call it there, mate. All right. And if there's any questions, keep putting them chats in as well, mate. They're good for everybody, especially you. So yeah, keep them coming, mate. We'll go from there, mate. All right. Thank you very much. Catch you in a bit.